Captain Nathaniel Nate Drake stood on the bridge of the Starship Endeavour, his eyes fixed on the massive holographic projection of Warlord Zorgath's flagship. The galaxy's most feared warlord had just delivered an ultimatum: surrender or die. Nate's reply, "We choose both," echoed through the silent bridge, instantly drawing the attention of his crew. "Status report," Nate commanded, his voice calm and steady despite the tension. "Shields at 70%, weapons systems online, and the fleet is holding formation," reported Commander Lila Robinson, his second-in-command. She stood beside him, her face a mask of determination and focus. Nate nodded, his mind racing with strategies. "Zorgath won't expect a direct assault. We need to strike hard and fast, exploit any weaknesses." Lila glanced at him, concern flickering in her eyes. "Captain, the Draken Empire has us outnumbered. We need more than just brute force." "That's why we'll use their own arrogance against them," Nate replied, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. "Prepare the cloaking devices. We're going to infiltrate their fleet and take out their command ship." The crew sprang into action, the hum of the Endeavour S systems rising as they prepared for the daring maneuver. Nate's gaze swept over his team, each member a crucial part of their survival. He felt a surge of pride and responsibility. These people trusted him with their lives. As the Endeavour glided through space, cloaked and undetected, Nate's thoughts drifted to his family on Earth. He pushed the memories aside, focusing on the mission ahead. Failure was not an option. Entering the enemy's perimeter, Lila announced. The holographic display showed the vast array of Draken ships surrounding Zorgath's flagship. "Hold position," Nate ordered. "We need to get closer. Wait for my signal." The moments ticked by, each second stretching into an eternity. The Endeavour moved silently through the enemy lines, its advanced technology masking its presence. Nate's heart pounded in his chest, but his face remained impassive. "Now!" Nate shouted. The Endeavour sprang into action, firing a barrage of torpedoes at the nearest Draken ships. Explosions rocked the enemy fleet as chaos erupted. Nate's tactical display lit up with alerts. "All units, engage at will. Target their command ship." The Endeavour weaved through the battlefield, its weapons cutting through the enemy ranks. Nate's strategic brilliance shone as he directed his fleet with precision, exploiting every weakness and outmaneuvering the Draken forces. Amidst the conflict, a transmission crackled through the comm system. "Captain Drake, this is Zorgath. Your defiance is admirable but futile. Surrender, and I might spare your people." Nate's jaw tightened. "Zorgath, you underestimate humanity's resolve. We won't back down." The enemy flagship loomed ahead, its sheer size dwarfing the Endeavour. "Commander Robinson, prepare for boarding operations. We're taking the fight to them." "Yes, Captain," Lila replied, her voice unwavering. She turned to the crew. "Boarding teams, to your stations. This is our chance to end this." As the Endeavour closed in on Zorgath's ship, Nate led the boarding team. They breached the enemy vessel, blasters at the ready. The interior was a labyrinth of dark corridors and hostile soldiers. Nate moved with purpose, his team following closely. They fought their way through the ship, each encounter pushing them closer to their goal. The smell of burnt circuitry and the sounds of combat filled the air. Finally, they reached the command center. Zorgath stood before them, a menacing figure radiating authority and power. His eyes locked onto Nate's, a sneer curling his lips. "Captain Drake," Zorgath mocked. "You truly believe you can defeat me?" Nate raised his blaster, his voice steady. "It's not about belief, Zorgath. It's about action." A fierce battle ensued. Nate's team fought valiantly, but Zorgath's strength and skill were formidable. Nate found himself in a one-on-one confrontation with the Warlord, their blasters clashing in a flurry of sparks and energy. With a final, desperate move, Nate activated a hidden charge on his blaster. The explosion knocked Zorgath back, giving Nate the opening he needed. He lunged forward, striking Zorgath with a powerful blow that sent the Warlord crashing to the ground. Breathing heavily, Nate looked down at his fallen foe. "This ends now." Zorgath glared up at him, his eyes filled with rage. "You may have won this battle, human, but the war is far from over." Nate stepped back, his expression resolute. "We'll be ready." Captain Nathaniel Nate Drake adjusted his position in the command center of the Starship Endeavour, the echoes of their recent victory still fresh in his mind. Despite the triumph, he knew this was only the beginning of a prolonged conflict with the Draken Empire. "Commander Robinson, status report on our fleet," Nate ordered, his voice steady and authoritative. "Shields have been reinforced, and our weapon systems are back online," Lila Robinson responded, her hands flying over the control panel. "The crew is conducting repairs on the outer hull, and we're ready for the next engagement." Nate nodded, his thoughts racing. The intelligence they had gathered from the disabled Draken ship indicated that Zorgatha's superweapon was not just a threat, it was a potential game-changer. They had to find a way to neutralize it. "Lila, we need to locate the superweapon. Any leads from the data we've intercepted?" Nate asked, his gaze piercing the holographic map of the star system. Lila hesitated for a moment, then pointed to a cluster of coordinates on the map. "According to the decrypted files, there's a heavily guarded facility on the planet Valoria. It's likely where they're developing the weapon." "Valoria," Nate murmured, his mind already formulating a plan. "We need to infiltrate that facility and gather more information. Assemble a strike team. We move out immediately." As the crew prepared for the mission, Nate took a moment to address them. "Listen up, everyone. This mission is critical. The Drakens have a weapon that could annihilate entire planets. Our objective is to infiltrate their base on Valoria, gather intelligence, and if possible, sabotage their operations. Stay sharp and watch each other's backs." The team responded with a unified nod, their expressions resolute. Nate led the way to the shuttle bay, his heart pounding with a mix of anticipation and resolve. As they boarded the stealth shuttle, Nate glanced at Lila. "Ready for this?" "Always," she replied with a determined smile. The shuttle descended towards Valoria, cloaked and undetectable. The planet's surface was a sprawling complex of metallic structures and fortified defenses. Nate's team landed in a remote area, quickly disembarking and making their way towards the facility under the cover of darkness. Nate's instincts were on high alert as they navigated through the labyrinth of corridors. "Stay close and keep quiet," he whispered, leading the way. They encountered minimal resistance at first, taking down guards silently and efficiently. However, as they approached the main control room, the security tightened. Nate motioned for the team to halt, his keen eyes scanning for a way through. "Commander Robinson, can you access their security systems from here?" Nate asked, pointing to a nearby console. Lila nodded, quickly interfacing with the alien technology. "Give me a moment. There, I've looped the security feed. We have about 10 minutes before they realize something's wrong." "Let's move," Nate ordered, leading the team into the control room. They found a trove of information, holographic displays showing detailed schematics of the superweapon and its operational status. "This is it," Nate said, downloading the data onto a secure drive. "We need to get this back to the Endeavor." Just as they were about to leave, an alarm blared through the facility. The team tensed, weapons at the ready. "We've been compromised," Lila said, her voice urgent. "They're locking down the facility." Nate cursed under his breath. "We need an exit strategy. Now." The team moved swiftly, navigating through the facility as alarms and lights blared around them. They fought their way past waves of Draken soldiers, their progress hindered by the escalating resistance. Despite the chaos, Nate remained focused, guiding his team with unwavering resolve. As they neared the shuttle, a group of elite Draken warriors blocked their path. The ensuing battle was fierce and intense, each member of Nate's team displaying exceptional skill and bravery. Nate himself faced off against a particularly formidable adversary, their clash a whirlwind of energy and precision. With a final, decisive strike, Nate brought down his opponent. "Get to the shuttle," he commanded, covering the retreat as his team boarded the craft. The shuttle took off, narrowly avoiding enemy fire as it ascended into the atmosphere. Nate breathed a sigh of relief as they escaped Valoria's gravity, the shuttle cloaking once more. "We did it," Lila said, her voice tinged with exhaustion and triumph. "We have the data." Nate nodded, a sense of accomplishment washing over him. "Let's get back to the Endeavor. We need to analyze this information and plan our next move." Back aboard the Endeavor, Captain Nate Drake stood in the command center, analyzing the data they had retrieved from Valoria. The schematics of the Draken superweapon were complex, revealing an almost insurmountable challenge. Yet, Nate felt a glimmer of determination. "Commander Robinson, how are we progressing with the analysis?" Nate asked, his eyes scanning the holographic display. Lila Robinson, who had been tirelessly working on decrypting the files, looked up. "We're making headway, Captain. The superweapon relies on a rare energy source. If we can disrupt its power core, we might have a chance to neutralize it." Nate nodded, considering their options. "Good work. Assemble a team to devise a plan. We need to move quickly." As Lila moved to gather her team, Nate couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The data they had intercepted included a message suggesting a traitor within their ranks. He knew he had to address this before it jeopardized their mission. Later, in a secure briefing room, Nate gathered his senior officers. "We've intercepted a message indicating there's a mole among us," he began, his tone grave. "We need to identify and neutralize this threat immediately." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Trust was a cornerstone of their unity, and the thought of betrayal was a heavy burden. "Suggestions?" Nate prompted, looking around the room. Lieutenant Michaels, a seasoned officer with a sharp mind, spoke up. "We should start by cross-referencing the crew's activities with the timeline of intercepted communications. Any anomalies might lead us to the mole." "Agreed," Nate replied. "Lila, work with Michaels on this. We need results fast." Hours turned into days as the investigation progressed. The strain of suspicion weighed heavily on everyone. Finally, they found a lead. Anomalous access logs pointed to Lieutenant Harris, a trusted officer. Nate confronted Harris in the privacy of his quarters. "Lieutenant, we need to talk," he said, his voice controlled but firm. Harris looked up, a mixture of fear and resignation in his eyes. "Captain, I can explain." "Start talking," Nate demanded. Harris sighed, his shoulders slumping. "They have my family, sir. Zorgatha's agents threatened to kill them if I didn't cooperate. I had no choice." Nate's anger simmered, but he understood the depths of Harris's desperation. "You should have come to me. We could have found another way." Harris's face twisted in anguish. "I'm sorry, Captain. I was too scared." "We don't have time for regrets," Nate said, his voice softening. "We need to fix this." "What have you told them?" "Locations of our supply routes and some operational plans," Harris admitted, his voice trembling. "But nothing on the superweapon. I swear." Nate weighed the situation quickly. "You're coming with us. We'll protect your family and put an end to this." They moved swiftly, devising a plan to use Harris's knowledge to their advantage. Nate ordered a decoy operation to mislead Zorgath while the real mission targeted the superweapon's power core. As they prepared to depart, Nate addressed his crew. "We've identified the traitor, and he's working with us now to bring down Zorgath. Our mission is twofold: neutralize the superweapon and rescue Lieutenant Harris's family. This is our chance to turn the tide." The crew responded with a resounding affirmation, their loyalty and resolve unwavering. Boarding the assault shuttles, Nate's team approached the enemy's facility once more. The decoy operation had drawn most of Zorgatha's forces away, but the path to the superweapon was still fraught with danger. Inside the facility, they moved with precision. Nate led the charge, his blaster cutting through the guards who remained. Lila and her tech team worked quickly to plant explosives around the power core. "We're running out of time," Lila warned as alarms began to blare. "Just a little longer," Nate urged, keeping the guards at bay. Finally, the charges were set. The team retreated, racing against the clock. As they reached the extraction point, the facility shook with the force of the explosions. The superweapon was disabled. Nate turned to Harris. "Your family?" Harris nodded, tears of relief in his eyes. "Safe, thanks to you." Nate allowed himself a brief moment of satisfaction. "Let's get out of here." The shuttle soared into the sky, leaving the smoldering remains of the facility behind. As they rejoined the Endeavor, Nate knew their mission had struck a significant blow against the Draken Empire. Captain Nathaniel Nate Drake stood on the bridge of the Endeavor, his thoughts focused on the critical mission ahead. The intel they had gathered from Valoria had given them a fighting chance against Zorgatha's superweapon, but the stakes were higher than ever. "Commander Robinson, status report on the fleet," Nate ordered, his gaze fixed on the tactical display. Lila Robinson responded promptly, "Our ships are in formation and ready for the assault. The decoy operation has successfully diverted a significant portion of the Draken forces." Nate nodded, satisfied with their preparations. "Good. Begin the approach. Let's end this." As the Endeavor and its fleet advanced towards the heart of the Draken Empire, Nate couldn't help but reflect on how far they had come. They had faced insurmountable challenges, yet their resolve had only grown stronger. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from Zorgath," Lila announced, breaking his reverie. "Put it through," Nate replied. The menacing visage of Warlord Zorgath appeared on the screen. "Captain Drake, your resistance is futile. Surrender now, and I may spare your lives." Nate's expression remained steely. "We've faced worse odds and emerged victorious. Your reign of terror ends today." Zorgath's eyes narrowed. "Very well. Prepare to be annihilated." The transmission cut off, and Nate turned to his crew. "All units, prepare for battle. This is it." The Endeavor surged forward, leading the charge. The initial clash was fierce, with explosions lighting up the void as both sides exchanged fire. Nate's strategic brilliance was evident as he maneuvered his fleet, exploiting every weakness in the enemy's formation. "Lila, target the shield generators on Zorgath's flagship." "We need to create an opening," Nate commanded. "Aye, Captain," Lila responded, coordinating the attack. Precision strikes from the human fleet began to weaken the enemy's defenses. As the battle raged on, Nate received a critical update. "Captain, our boarding team is ready. We have a window to infiltrate the flagship." "Understood." "Initiate boarding sequence," Nate ordered. He turned to Lila. "You're with me." They boarded the assault shuttle, heading directly towards Zorgath's flagship. The shuttle navigated through the chaos, avoiding enemy fire with deft maneuvers. As they breached the flagship's hull, Nate and his team moved swiftly, cutting through the enemy ranks. Inside the flagship, they encountered heavy resistance. Nate's focus was unwavering as he led his team towards the superweapons control center. Each step forward was a battle, but they pushed on, driven by their mission's importance. Finally, they reached the control center. Zorgath awaited them, a fierce grin on his face. "Captain Drake, you've made it this far, but you won't leave alive." Nate stepped forward, blaster raised. "We'll see about that." The confrontation was intense. Blaster fire filled the air as Nate's team engaged Zorgath's elite guards. Nate and Zorgath faced off in a duel of skill and determination. Sparks flew as their weapons clashed, each strike a testament to their resolve. In a critical moment, Nate spotted an opening. With a swift, decisive move, he disarmed Zorgath, knocking him to the ground. "This ends now," Nate declared, his voice unwavering. Zorgath glared up at him, his defiance still evident. "You may have won this battle, human, but the war is far from over." Nate's expression hardened. "Not if we have anything to say about it." Lila and the team secured the control center, planting charges to destroy the superweapon. As they made their way back to the shuttle, the facility trembled with the force of the impending explosion. "Move, move," Nate urged, ensuring everyone made it to the shuttle safely. They launched just as the charges detonated, a massive explosion tearing through the flagship. The shuttle returned to the Endeavor, and the crew erupted in cheers. The destruction of the superweapon was a significant victory, one that would shift the balance of power. Back on the bridge, Nate addressed his crew. "Today, we've dealt a major blow to the Draken Empire. But our fight isn't over. We'll continue to stand against tyranny and defend our home." Lila stepped forward, a proud smile on her face. "Captain, you've inspired us all. We're with you to the end." Nate looked around at his crew, feeling a deep sense of pride. "Together, we'll forge a future free from fear."